Have you ever woken up in the morning and felt a weight you couldn't name? A heavy stillness that anchors you to the bed, not from exhaustion but from something unseen. Carl Jung, who spent a lifetime listening to the human soul, believed that this heaviness is not laziness at all. It is a sacred message from the depths of your being. Your soul, wise and ancient, has stopped lending energy to the life that no longer serves it. And so it withdraws, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Like winter holding the seeds of spring, this pause carries the quiet promise of renewal. Today, let's walk into that silence together and discover what your soul is really asking for when it no longer wants to rise. Carl Jung once said that the soul moves in seasons. There is a time for blooming, and there is a time for withdrawal, a time for sunlight, and a time for the cave. When that deep stillness begins to settle in your chest, when you feel the quiet ache to stop, to rest, to disappear for a while, your soul is not dying, it's wintering. We fear this winter. We've been taught to measure life in constant motion, in goals, in progress, in doing. But the soul was never meant to live on such straight lines. It moves in circles, like the moon, like the tides, like the seasons God placed upon the earth. And winter, though it looks like death, is always a time of hidden creation. Think of a forest in January. The branches stand bare, stripped of every leaf. The air feels empty. But beneath that silence, the roots are alive, reaching deeper, drinking from the unseen rivers underground. That is the secret work of the soul. When everything on the surface seems still beneath awareness, something sacred is taking shape. Jung called this psychic incubation. A time when your unconscious, the deep well of who you are, begins to digest old pain and forgotten lessons. It's the hidden workshop of transformation where sorrow is turned into wisdom and fatigue becomes fuel for new life. Your tiredness is not decay. It's not the end of your strength. It's the sign that the old ways are being dissolved. The self you've outgrown is quietly being dismantled so that a new, truer one can be born. It's the chrysalis before the butterfly, the seed under the soil, the pause between exhale and inhale, the sacred still point where rebirth begins. The world around you may not understand this pause. It will tell you to keep going, to stay busy, to overcome it. But the soul's wisdom has never belonged to the logic of the clock. It belongs to the rhythm of eternity. Even the earth rests, the ocean ebbs, the sun sets, and every living thing must retreat before it rises again. If you find yourself in this season of stillness, trust that you are not broken, you are becoming. This is how the Creator renews the spirit, not through endless striving, but through holy stillness. In winter, the forest does not rush to bloom, it waits. And in that waiting, strength gathers in its roots. So too must you allow your soul to rest, to listen, to breathe in the quiet. Not all stillness feels the same. There are many shades of quiet, many faces of fatigue. Carl Jung believed that what we often call laziness or lack of motivation is not a single thing, but a language the soul uses to speak. Each kind of tiredness carries a message wrapped in weariness. If you learn to listen, each one tells you something sacred about who you are and what must change so your life can become true again. 1. The fatigue of misalignment. There comes a point when your outer life, your routines, your relationships, your ambitions, no longer mirrors your inner truth. You may still show up, smile, and go through the motions, but something inside of you has quietly stopped participating. The meetings, the chores, the endless doing, they start to lose meaning. And you wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can't I care anymore? But this isn't failure, it's honesty. Your soul is saying, I will not power a life that isn't mine. It is withdrawing its energy from the false and waiting for you to return to what's real. This kind of tiredness is a divine protest, a sacred no. When your spirit refuses to pour into what no longer serves you, it's clearing the ground for a more authentic way of living. It's not burnout, it's realignment. 2. The fatigue of unmourned grief. Sometimes your body is heavy because it's holding on to losses you never fully faced. A loved one gone, a dream that didn't unfold, a younger version of yourself that never got to live freely. We carry so many small funerals within us, moments we never took time to honor. Grief that goes unmourned doesn't vanish. It sinks deeper, pressing against your ribs, slowing your breath, whispering, "See me." Jung understood that pain ignored becomes pain embodied. It drains your energy because your soul is holding a silent vigil. So when exhaustion comes with sadness you can't explain, your spirit may be saying, "Stop. Sit with me. Light a candle for what is gone. Cry if you need to." Tears are not weakness, they are holy water, washing the dust from your heart so new life can enter. Grief, when welcomed, becomes gratitude. 3. The fatigue of emotional overload. We live in a world that never stops talking. Screens flashing, people shouting, the constant ache of headlines. For the sensitive soul, this flood of noise becomes too much to hold. We absorb pain that isn't ours. We carry stories we were never meant to carry. Eventually, the soul says, "Enough." It pulls the plug, turning your energy inward for cleansing. Stillness becomes medicine, a holy reset for the nervous system. Even science calls this a healing process. When we rest, the body lowers its stress chemicals, rebalances the brain, repairs the heart. But long before modern science, Jung and the mystics before him already knew. The spirit heals through silence. The soul cannot detox in chaos. So if your body demands rest after carrying too much of the world, don't resist it. You're not failing. You're purifying. 4. The fatigue of life. Transition. There are seasons when you stand between identities, no longer who you were, but not yet who you are becoming. It feels like standing in fog. You can't see the next step, and the old path has already disappeared. Jung called this the liminal space, the holy in-between. It is the cocoon before the wings, the space where the caterpillar dissolves so the butterfly can form. This is the fatigue of transformation. Everything inside you is rearranging itself, and that process takes energy. When you feel lost, uncertain, or strangely empty, remember. The silence you feel is the sound of rebirth. The soul is rebuilding you in secret. Be patient. You are not lost. You are being remade. 5. The fatigue of blocked creativity. At the heart of every soul lives a spark, the divine fire of creation. It's the urge to make, to express, to give beauty and meaning to the world. But when life becomes too narrow, too practical, too afraid, that fire has nowhere to go. And so it turns inward, curling into apathy, sadness, or even despair. Jung noticed this often. When a person's creative energy is denied, it doesn't disappear. It poisons the spirit. Your soul cries, "Stop wasting my fire on things that do not matter." This is not the end of energy. It's energy demanding new purpose. When you honor your creativity, whether through painting, writing, gardening, prayer, or simply speaking truth, you give that fire back to God, and it returns as joy. Each of these forms of fatigue, misalignment, grief, overload, transition, and blocked creativity, are not punishments. They are invitations. Each one asks the same question. What part of me is asking to be born? And perhaps beneath that question you can hear another voice, quiet, patient, loving, the voice of your Creator saying, "Rest, my child, I am still here. I am making all things new. The modern mind fears stillness. It wants to fix it, label it, medicate it, or run from it. We've been trained to believe that silence means something is wrong, that if we're not producing, improving, or performing, we're falling behind. But Carl Jung understood something deeper. The soul speaks softly, and it speaks in its own mysterious language. It doesn't speak in logic or schedules. It speaks through symbols, through dreams, through the sudden ache in your chest that you can't quite explain. It speaks through that very fatigue you keep trying to cure. When that heaviness comes, don't rush to ask, "What's wrong with me?" Ask instead, "What is speaking through me?" Because something is speaking, something older and wiser than your conscious mind. Jung called this process active imagination, a way of opening the door between your waking self and your soul. Take a pen and let your hand move freely. Don't think, just write. Let the words tumble out, fragments, half-thoughts, nonsense, or draw. Let your hand trace shapes that rise from somewhere deeper than thought. Soon you'll start to notice patterns, a recurring image, a symbol, water, fire, doors, mountains. Each carries meaning. Water often speaks of emotion and renewal, fire of transformation. A door might signal something waiting to open. These are not coincidences, they are conversations. Your unconscious, or what Jung called the self, the divine center of your being, is trying to reach you. And the more you listen, the more fluent you become in your soul's quiet language. And here lies the paradox. Sometimes the most powerful action you can take is to do nothing at all, not out of apathy, but out of trust. Trust that your stillness is not a void, but a sacred rebellion against a world that never stops moving. In the old art of alchemy, transformation always began in darkness. Before anything could turn to gold, the material had to rest in the vessel, to dissolve, to surrender, to become unrecognizable. Carl Jung saw the same sacred law at work in the human soul. He called it nigredo, the black stage, the holy night before illumination. Your stillness is that vessel. Your fatigue is not the problem, it is the process. When life grows heavy, when all you can do is lie still, it may feel like nothing is happening. But within that silence, the architecture of your being is melting and reforming. Your soul is crafting a new shape, a truer one, made from grace and authenticity. And then one morning, something shifts. You wake and notice the light feels different. The same room, the same world, yet everything glows with quiet clarity. Energy begins to return, not forced, not pushed, but flowing like sap rising through a tree after a long winter. Jung once wrote, "The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being, and sometimes that light is born not through striving but through surrender, not through control but through trust, through listening, forgiving, and allowing the soul to bloom again." So if you feel that sacred pull to lie down, to stop, to rest, honor it. Your soul is not asking you to give up. You'll rise not because you forced yourself to, but because your soul, renewed and blessed, will whisper, "Now, move."